Dear students, today we are going to discuss about the types of ecosystem which is under nature and environment of grade 9 science and technology. Dear students, in previous class we discussed about the components of ecosystem. We discussed about the what is ecosystem, what are the components of ecosystem. What are the components of ecosystem? Do you remember? Yes, there are mainly two types of components. Those are physical component and biological component, or biotic component and abiotic component. What are biotic components? Yes, those living organisms which are present in our environment, those are called biotic component. Whereas all the physical components which are present in our surrounding like sunlight, air, water, soil, mineral, etc. those are called abiotic component. And we also discuss about something about the ecosystem. What is ecosystem? It is the complex interrelationship between the biotic and abiotic factor of particular environment. Yes. Now, today we discuss about the different types of ecosystem. Just see these slides. Which place ecosystem is shown in these two pictures? Can you guess? There are large trees, fox, rabbit, bird, etc. shown in this first picture. There is source of energy sun is also shown. And in this picture, there is water. Inside the water, there are various type of organisms are shown. And what type of, which place ecosystem is shown here? Can you guess? Yes? This is the part of land. Is it? It is a part of land. We can say that it is a land ecosystem, or which is present in the, it may be forest, it may be grassland. Yeah, there are very large trees, so it is a forest and the ecosystem of that place is shown here. Whereas it is inside the water, there are various kind of aquatic animals are shown. There are small plants which are growing inside the water. So this is the ecosystem of water. Okay, based on this location, based on the environment where the organisms are growing, these ecosystems are classified into two types. What are those? Aquatic ecosystem and terrestrial ecosystem. What is aquatic ecosystem? See here, this is a pond, is it? Inside the pond, there are various type of organisms are growing. And this type of ecosystem, that means the ecosystem or the interrelationship between the aquatic organisms, that means aquatic organisms and aquatic environment or physical factor of the aquatic condition, that is called aquatic ecosystem. Whereas terrestrial ecosystem means what? That is the ecosystem of the land. It may be desert land, it may be forest, or it may be grassland, it may be small field, wherever. If it takes place in the land, if we are taking the organisms and physical factors of the particular land, then it is called terrestrial ecosystem. Further, this type of ecosystem we can classify and exemplify into various types. For example, say the terrestrial ecosystem. Even though it is a land, the environment of the land is different. That means if we go to the desert area, the condition of desert is different from the condition of the forest area or the midland area or the hilly region area or Himalayan region area. So these are different. So based on that, we group them into various groups like grassland ecosystem, forest ecosystem, desert ecosystem. Furthermore, there are. And in case of aquatic ecosystem, even in the aquatic condition, if it is a water system also, the condition in the pond is different from the lake and different from the ocean and river. So the ecosystem of aquatic condition are also different types, that is pond ecosystem, lake ecosystem, ocean ecosystem, etc. Okay, first one is terrestrial ecosystem. In the terrestrial ecosystem, we find different types of environment. Just see in this picture, this is a dense forest. The temperature of this area may be different from the temperature of this area. Okay, and this is desert land, this is grassland, this is desert land, and it is also in the Himalayan region area. So the temperature, condition of soil, amount of water present in the soil is different in these 4 areas. Okay, in this dense forest, the organism living in this forest are different from the organisms living in this area, grassland. And those organisms which are growing and living in this desert land is completely different from the organisms which are growing on the Himalayan region. So the ecosystem of those places are different from each other. That means the producers, consumers are different from one place to another place. So we have to read one by one different types of ecosystem. But in this class, we don't go in depth of different types of ecosystem. Just we discuss about the pond ecosystem of aquatic ecosystem, and just in the terrestrial ecosystem, we discuss about the grassland or the open field ecosystem. Okay, in this way, see, this terrestrial ecosystem is of different type, but in this class we discuss only about the open field ecosystem or grassland ecosystem. In the, see here, this is the grassland ecosystem. You find there are different grasses are there, and small, some trees are also there, and there are various kinds of animals are growing over there. So first, terrestrial ecosystem. In this picture, what you observe? There is a large tree. Okay, it is a producer. Okay, and there are various conditions. There is soil, there is water, that means it is the water percolated inside the soil is present here. There are different kinds of mineral inside the soil, and there is air which contain oxygen, carbon dioxide, and there is sunlight which is coming from the sun in the form of energy. Okay, what are the physical factors over here? What are the physical factors or abiotic factors of the ecosystem? Yes, there is air which is composed of different kinds of gases. Out of those, this oxygen and carbon dioxide are the gases which are very essential for the living organisms. And there is soil. Soil is the base of every living organism. Either animals or plants, their habitat is in the soil. And from the soil, the plants can go, that means absorb water. Water is also percolated inside the soil, is absorbed by the roots of plants. Then there are minerals inside the soil, those are also absorbed by the plants for the preparation of food as well as growth of the plants. In this way, these physical factors are supporting these living organisms present in an environment. Here, this whole, that means, and this green plant produces food, and these green plants provide food to the others. They produce their own food as well as produce food for the other organisms too. Because of that, these green plants are called producer. They convert inorganic compounds like carbon dioxide and water into the carbohydrate, that is organic compound. And so these green plants are called producers. So there is an interaction among these physical factors and biological factors. This interrelationship between these different kinds of biological factors and abiological factors or the physical factors is called ecosystem. As it is taking place on the land, this is called terrestrial ecosystem. Here this terrestrial ecosystem is affected by different kinds of, that means landform, wind, water and different physical factors. This terrestrial ecosystem is formed by the interrelationship between abiotic and biotic components which are present in the land. Just now we have discussed here in this picture. Okay, then now what is terrestrial ecosystem? Can you define it? Okay, so that means terrestrial ecosystem means it is the complex interrelationship between abiotic and biotic factors of land. Okay, particular piece of land, that is called terrestrial ecosystem. There are various examples we have seen in the terrestrial ecosystem. Now we discuss about the grassland ecosystem or open field ecosystem. Here in an open field also there are various types of organisms. Do you see in this picture? The grasses are growing. Okay, in the presence of sunlight, in the presence of soil, water, air, it is preparing food and it is providing food to the grasshopper, frog, snake, like this. That means food is transferred, energy is transferred from producers to higher level of consumer, that is up to this eagle. And this interrelationship among these living organisms as well as the physical factors present in this grassland or the open field is called open field ecosystem or grassland ecosystem. Now, what are the abiotic factors of it? Okay, what you observe in this picture, this side is abiotic factors and these are biotic factors. What are the abiotic factors? This sunlight provides solar energy and there is wind or air. It is a mixture of different kinds of gases. There is 78% of nitrogen, nearly 21% of oxygen, nearly 0.04% of carbon dioxide and other gases are also there that forms the air. From that, these plants and animals compulsorily need carbon dioxide and oxygen. During breathing, organisms take oxygen and throw carbon dioxide. But during photosynthesis, green plants take carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and they prepare food and release oxygen as a byproduct. So, this oxygen and carbon dioxide are balanced in the air due to the living organisms present in this environment. And similarly, water is also very essential physical factor. Here water is, that means it is very essential for every living organism. Nearly 60% of the body weight is made up of water. How this water is obtained by the organisms? For example, plants. These plants used to take water from the soil through their roots and they prepare the food by using water and carbon dioxide in their chlorophyll in the presence of sunlight. So, during preparation of food, during photosynthesis, water is a very essential factor, okay, for the plant. And the food prepared by the plant by the process of photosynthesis is utilized by each and every organisms present in this ecosystem. And directly organisms, other organisms depend in the water, that means they drink water directly. So, water is very essential abiotic component of the grassland ecosystem since it is providing, That means it is providing the condition for the living or the life of the organism living in this environment. And next one is soil. Here soil is also another abiotic factor of the grassland ecosystem or the open field ecosystem. You know that soil is the mixture of different kinds of substances. It contains minerals, okay? It contains humus, and it contains small pieces of rocks also. So here the soil provides base for every living organism. Either it is a rat, rabbit, or a snake or grasshopper, any organism, they make their shelter in the soil. Similarly, plants also growing on the soil. It is the base of plants, animals, and even microorganisms too. So, soil is very essential abiotic factor of grassland ecosystem. It is providing base of life to the each and every organism. Here, the plants absorbs minerals from the soil, as well as water. Soil holds the water. This water which is percolated inside the soil is also absorbed by the plant directly, and indirectly the soil is supporting the life. So it is also very essential factor. And next one is the soil, that means other substances which are, that means for example human being make their house by using rocks. How they get? From the soil only, okay, or it is land. And next one is we need different kinds of minerals for our good growth, and to increase our immunity power we need various types of minerals. Those minerals also we obtain from the soil. So this soil is also very important. And next one is sunlight. All of you know that sunlight provides energy. It is the main source of energy for earth. It provides directly energy in the form of heat and light. That light is very essential for the photosynthesis, and the heat energy which is provided by the sun maintains the temperature of the surrounding of the earth, or even this land ecosystem. The temperature is maintained by the sunlight or the heat provided by the sun. For the good growth of the organism, optimum temperature is necessary. For that optimum temperature, it is providing that condition. So it is also very important. Even it helps to run the water cycle. It also, the solar energy helps to run the water cycle. Due to this water cycle, the plants getting water from the soil, okay, during percolation. So these are the main abiotic factors of the grassland ecosystem. Now, what are the biotic factors of the grassland ecosystem? Just a piece of land we can draw here. So just here, see, this is soil. Okay, inside the soil there is even air is also present, water is also present. There is water is also percolated inside the soil, and there are some trees are growing, okay, and some grasses are growing over here on the land, and there is grasshopper which is feeding on these grasses, and there is some birds which are feeding on the fruits and some parts of plants, and even it used to feed on this grasshopper. And there are some rats, okay, this rat is also growing on this land, and it is also feeding on these plants. Then there are some snakes. And some frogs are also growing over here. Okay, so there are various kind of organisms are growing here, and how they feed. And there is sunlight, sun is also there, and there is carbon dioxide, there is oxygen. Okay, and there is these green plants takes carbon dioxide during photosynthesis and through oxygen, whereas these animals take oxygen and throw carbon dioxide. In this way, there is balanced. That means during respiration or the breathing, these animals, all the animals and plants as well, they take oxygen and throw carbon dioxide. During photosynthesis, this is taking. So there is a cyclic way is going on. And because of that, environmental, all the components which are present in the environment are balanced. So here even this plant is directly producing food by using sunlight, carbon dioxide, water from the soil, and these plants are eaten by these birds, even grasshopper, rat, etc. And this frog is feeding on grasshopper, and then this snake is feeding on frog and also in the rat. So there are all the organisms getting their food from this ecosystem. That means from this environment, and they are maintaining a harmonious relationship to balance the ecosystem. If there is any changes occur in the number of organisms, then there will be imbalance in the ecosystem. See, all the living organisms die once. So after the death of this living organism, there are certain bacteria, there are some fungi growing here, and these fungi and that like mushroom and other fungi are growing here. These will decompose the dead bodies of these organisms, and again they will mix them into the soil in the form of humus. Those will change into the simpler minerals which are again taken by the plants. In this way, whole grassland ecosystem is balanced. So what are the biotic factors here? Just you can observe here various types of biotic factors. All the living organisms which are present in the ecosystem, those are called biotic factors. Some are green plants, some are animals which are feeding on the plants, and some animals which are directly feeding on the other animals. So based on that the level of transfer of food is different. Those green plants are called producers. Those animals which are consuming food prepared by the others, those are called consumers. Again, consumers are of different types. Here, what are producers? Just see, all these green plants which are present in the grassland are the producers. They used to prepare food for themselves by the process of photosynthesis. They convert inorganic compound into organic compound, and they supply food for the other organisms. In this consumers, see what are the consumers here? This grasshopper and frog, snake, this vulture or eagle, these all feeding on food prepared by the others, so these are the consumers. Those which depend on the producers, those are called consumers, and level of consumer is again divided. There are various types of consumer based on the level of food consumed by them. Those which are directly consuming the producers, directly feeding on the plants, those are called primary consumers. These are also called herbivores, and for example, insects, grasshoppers, beetles, rabbits, deer, etc. In a grassland, we can find this kind of primary consumers. Next, secondary consumers. What are the secondary consumers? Those which feed on the primary consumers. Just like here, this frog is feeding on what? Grasshopper. So this is the primary, which level? This is secondary consumer. And if we see this one, the snake feeding on the rat. This rat is feeding on grasses. So the label of snake now it is a secondary consumer. But if we see, if this frog eat the grasshopper and snake eat the frog, at that time the label of this snake will be more, that is tertiary. That means depending on the level of food consumed or energy transfer, if an organism feed on the primary consumer, that is secondary consumer. If an organism feed on the secondary consumer, then it is tertiary consumer. Same organism become secondary as well as tertiary consumer. For example, in this I said here, when this snake eat the rat, it is secondary consumer. Why? This rat is feeding on the grasses, so it is primary consumer. Now snake is feeding on the rat, so it is a secondary consumer. But if this snake feed on the frog, at that time it becomes tertiary. Why? Here frog is feeding on the grasshopper, grasshopper is feeding on the grasses. So here this is primary, grasshopper is primary, frog is secondary and snake is tertiary. In this way we can explain the primary, secondary and tertiary consumers. Next, decomposers. What are the decomposers? Just mushroom, that means fungi, bacteria, worms which are present in the grassland, those are called decomposers of the grassland ecosystem. And here that means these fungi, bacteria decomposes the dead bodies of plants and animals and they mix into the soil. Those again, those humus or the minerals which are in the simple form, those are again consumed by the plants. In this way the cyclic way is going on. Next type of ecosystem is aquatic ecosystem. Already we have seen aquatic ecosystem means those which are, that means the ecosystem of the water. The interrelationship between the aquatic organisms and aquatic physical factors. That is called aquatic ecosystem. Here you can observe here. See inside the water, what you observe here, there are various kinds of plants are growing in the water, like Vallisneria, then there are algae, there are some phytoplankton and there are some other aquatic plants. Those plants which are growing inside it, those are acting as a producer. And some organisms, zooplanktons feeding on the phytoplanktons, those are again primary consumers. In this way, in the aquatic ecosystem also, we find the physical factors like sunlight, heat, which is produced from the solar energy, and there is water, already it is growing in the water, so the water is the main condition here. And also there are different minerals are mixed in the water, and even some organisms are growing on the soil which is present inside the water in the water bodies. So these are the some of the abiotic factors of the aquatic ecosystem too. And in this aquatic ecosystem we find again, just like in the terrestrial ecosystem, there are various conditions, in the various area there is various condition, various kind of organisms are growing. Here also based on the places where the pond, river, lake, seas, ocean, wetland, etc. their conditions are different, temperature is different, the minerals or the nutrients found on those places are different. Based on that, the living organisms growing on those places are also different. So there are different form of aquatic ecosystem. But here in this class we talk only about the pond ecosystem. Here you find, see, this is pond ecosystem, this is ocean ecosystem, and there is wetland ecosystem. But here mainly we deal with the pond ecosystem. Have you seen any pond around your houses or school? What are the organisms you see there? Yes, there are various kind of organism you can find out. There is algae growing on it. Sometimes you can find out some pistia, yes, plant, hydrilla and other plants. What type of plants you find? Yes, lotus also, aquatic plants. That means various kind of aquatic plants we can find out in the pond. And do you see there is sunlight in the pond? Yes, there is sunlight falling on the water also. Yes, and also there is soil also inside the pond water. There is also landform, and where there is, you can find out soil. So what are the abiotic factors now there? What are the abiotic factors you find there? There are various kind of abiotic factors, just like in the terrestrial ecosystem. So there is also a very deep interrelationship. There is a complex interrelationship between the different physical component of the water or the aquatic environment, and also the biotic factors of the aquatic environment, that is called aquatic ecosystem. Now you can see abiotic factor. What are those abiotic factors? Just we said water, sunlight, and soil is also there. Yes, there is also air. Oxygen is dissolved inside the water. That dissolved oxygen is taken by the organisms during breathing, and they throw out carbon dioxide. That carbon dioxide is that means semi-dissolved, and so the aquatic plants prepare their food by using that carbon dioxide, and in that way the air is also maintained inside the waters. Here these are the abiotic factors. What are those? Minerals, water, soil, solar energy, air, etc. Now what are the biotic factors of the pond ecosystem? What are there? In the pond ecosystem, there are aquatic green plants are present. Yes, very small green plants are present, algae is present, and these are fed by these small zooplanktons, and there are some fishes. In this way they are eaten and being eaten by others. The cyclic way is going on, and here you can find out bacteria as decomposers. Here just chart of this, just we discuss what is this, what are the producers of the this pond ecosystem. That means inside the water also some plants or the green plants are present. They used to produce the food. Those are the producers. What are those? Example, phytoplanktons like volvox. These are the algae. Volvox, Chlamydomonas, Clostridium. These are the small algae. And next one is aquatic plants like Pistia, Hydrilla, Lotus, etc. And what are the primary consumers here? In the pond ecosystem, what kind of primary consumers? Already you know that those which are feeding on the producers, those are called primary consumers. What are the consumers? Zooplankton, small fishes present in the pond, tadpoles of the frog, earthworm, etc. are the primary consumers of the pond ecosystem. Next one is secondary consumer. What are the secondary consumers present there? That means already you know that secondary consumers feeding on the primary consumers. What are those? Frogs, big fish, and also other snakes are also present there. Some snakes used to feed on the small fishes also. So those are also considered as a secondary consumer, but mostly big snakes are the tertiary consumers. And what are decomposers? There are some microorganisms which decompose the dead bodies of the plants and animals present inside the water too. Those are bacteria and fungi. Some fungi grow inside the water also. So some bacteria, even in this case, some bacteria are photosynthetic bacteria. Those photosynthetic bacteria are belonging to producers, but some are decomposing bacteria. We have discussed in the Monera also. There are various types of bacteria. Those which are photosynthetic bacteria, they belong to producer, and those bacteria which decompose the dead bodies of the plants and animals, those belongs to what? Decomposers. Okay, these are the different biotic factors of the pond ecosystem. Now, what are the interrelationship between the biotic and abiotic components of the ecosystem? See, this is in this side there are abiotic factors, these are biotic factors. We have discussed so many times in the terrestrial ecosystem also, in the pond ecosystem also. That means all the living organisms are depending on the plants for their food. Plant is preparing food by using the abiotic factors like carbon dioxide, water, and minerals in the presence of sunlight in the optimum temperature. So if these factors are missing, can plant photosynthesize the food? No. So can other organisms survive if plant cannot prepare the food? No. So because of that, these physical factors are directly or indirectly supporting the life of the organisms in an ecosystem. And again, if these living organisms will not breathe, then how the carbon dioxide and oxygen will be balanced? Okay, if they will not die, how the humus will be formed? So they are interrelated with each other in a different manner. Directly or indirectly, there is a deep relationship between the abiotic factor and biotic factor of an ecosystem. Okay, today we have discussed about the different types of ecosystem and interrelationship between the different biotic and abiotic components of the living organism. Here you can find out flow of energy, how energy is flowing. Can you see? Here the main source of energy is sun. Sun is providing solar energy in the form of heat and light. In the presence of heat and light, plant is preparing the food. That is called producer. And it is providing food to the consumers. And these consumers and producers die and decomposers will decompose them and it will mix into the soil. Again, this will convert it into again a biotic factor. And again plant will utilize this. So this cyclic way is going on and maintaining the ecosystem of particular environment. Even in the water also same thing happens. So this is the interrelationship between the different kinds of biotic and abiotic factors. Today we have discussed about the various factors and various types of ecosystem. Now we practice some questions. First question is, which level of consumer is a snake in this picture? Just observe this picture. See here, plant is preparing food in the presence of sunlight and this plant is eaten by the grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by the rat. Rat is eaten by the snake. Snake is eaten by the vulture. So which level of consumer is a snake? Yes, which one? In this figure only. Can you say which one? Yes, very good. It is tertiary consumer. Next question. Why is grasses called producer in the given consumer? Here some grasses are growing here, okay, and this plant is growing here. Why it is these grasses and green plants are called producers? Yes, as it utilizes solar energy, it consumes mineral and water from the soil, it converts organic compounds into inorganic compounds, or it converts inorganic compounds into the organic compounds. So which one is the correct answer over here? Can you say? Yes, it converts inorganic compounds into organic compounds. That is, inorganic compounds are what I said, carbon dioxide and water is converted into glucose during photosynthesis. That glucose is the organic compound. So these are called producers. Next question is, which of the following statement is correct? Which one? See, in an ecosystem, phytoplanktons are consumers. Soil, mineral, sunlight, air, water are physical components. Bacteria and fungi are decomposers. Zooplanktons are producers. Out of these four statements, which are correct statement? Okay, which one? Yes, 2 and 3, that is soil, water, minerals, air, etc. are physical component. Bacteria and fungi are the decomposers. These two are the correct statement and remaining two are incorrect. So students, today we discussed about the various types of ecosystem. I hope you have learned a lot and you can make a chart by using different paper cutting to prepare this chart of ecosystem. So that is your project work, you do it and so to your teacher. For this, You have to collect different color paper and cut it into different shape and paste it on the chart paper. So you can prepare a very beautiful ecosystem yourself. Thank you. That's all for today. Namaste.